Okay, good morning, everyone who's viewing. In this podcast, we're going to be looking at how hard is it to study chiropractic in the UK when English isn't your first language. So, on the other end of this call, we have Dr. Endre, who is from Norway and who studied chiropractic in the UK. Obviously, English not the first language. So, Endre, let's start with the basic. Why is it that you had to come to the UK to study chiropractic?
Well, there is no chiropractic education in Norway.
Hmm.
So if you want to become a chiropractor, you have to move either to England, Wales, or Denmark if you want to stay in Europe,
Hmm.
or you will have to go to America or Australia.
Yeah, something further. And so, why did you choose England at that time?
I don't know yet. Well, I do know. It's because of the school. So I talked to different chiropractors, pros and cons with Denmark, Wales, England, um, and if what I heard is that if you wanted to become good at the adjustment, England was superior to the other two.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's what you're doing day to day, isn't it? So I decided to go for England.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I suppose you gather the information that you can gather, but it's sometimes quite hard, isn't it, before you've
Mm.
actually gone there to know where the best college is. But yeah, I mean that was my impression as well, that Bournemouth was the go-to, and it was the first one in Europe, I believe, wasn't it? So yeah, it's had some history. So what was it like then? As I mean, well, why don't we start with this? What was your English like before you went? How
Well,
confident would you say you were?
mediocre at best.
Okay.
I never liked English at school.
All right, interesting.
And I was like telling like I don't care where I study as long as I don't have to speak English every day because I couldn't be bothered. Um, but then I found out if I wanted to be a chiropractor, I kind of had to.
Mm.
And then you just have to, I don't know, change gears and try your best to live with the life or the decisions that you make.
Mm. Mm. And so was it as hard as you thought? What were your expectations versus the reality of what it was actually like?
Well, yeah. Obviously, I wasn't great, so I thought it was going to be very hard. Um, but like the studying part, the going to uni, sitting in on lectures,
Mm.
was pretty easy. Um, Tutors speak very grammatically correct,
Mm.
and it's like there's only one guy to listen to, and you can just sit there and translate what they're saying
Mm.
into my. What was hard was like the social part,
Oh, interesting.
where you're standing in a big circle, someone says something in English, and I had to translate it from English to Norwegian, and then my reply from Norwegian to English, and then somebody else had already said something,
Mm.
so I was just too late. That was a challenge, but the
Mm.
actual sitting in on lectures, that was pretty straightforward from the beginning.
Oh, okay, good, good. Yeah, and I suppose because was that a worry for you coming to UK studying a degree that isn't your first language? Were you worried that that would be a barrier?
I don't know. I don't think I was self-conscious enough to.
You were naive enough. Well, I suppose not naive
Yeah.
because it turned out actually not too bad. Because I would imagine that there will be some people that would be quite worried. I mean, a lot of people would be worried anyway because like, even if they're English, because they don't know how hard the course is going to be. Sometimes you get surprised, obviously.
Yeah.
But if you're going to study a course that it's your second language, and particularly maybe if you're not so competent in that language to begin with, it's probably going to be a bit of a worry, isn't it? another hindrance maybe you don't want. But obviously with you, it was. It sounds like it maybe wasn't as bad as you thought.
It wasn't as bad as I thought at all. Actually, it was pretty straightforward. Like Norwegians generally have pretty decent English education.
Yeah.
You have your movies is in English, gaming is English. So generally Norwegians are okay with English.
Yeah, I think most countries seem to be pretty good at learning English. I always get surprised at how good people's English just are, their languages are. So yeah, no, that's good. And so, would you say it was a handicap in comparison to someone that was English was their first language? Or do you think it didn't really make like? Oh, let's put it this way: if you were to study chiropractic in Norway and study it in Norwegian, do you think you would have had an advantage there, or do you think actually the difference isn't really that big?
I guess a lot of the terminology is new if you speak English as your first language or second language, especially in like pathology and anatomy, physiology. So it wouldn't be a massive difference, I guess. But obviously, there's words you would know that I wouldn't know. That K is called potassium. It's just stuff like that makes it a bit more annoying, I guess. It is the biggest difference, but I wouldn't say it's I wouldn't say it's hard. I would guess most people, at least from like Scandinavia, will have the English abilities to complete.
Yeah.
Of course, that's not the limiting factor. The language.
Yeah, and how much better would you say your English got at the end of those 5 years?
Oh, way better.
Yeah.
Way better. I think, and it proved pretty quickly as well. When you speak it all day, every day, you stop thinking English at some point.
So how long would you say that took you then until you actually started thinking English?
It took me 2 days until I spoke English in my sleep. Probably like a semester or 2.
Okay. Yeah. So not very long then. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say so.
And I suppose that's generally the best. Not talking from experience, but the best way of learning a language is just to put yourself in that challenge. The best way of learning anything, isn't it? Best way of learning anything is just to put yourself where you actually need to do that thing. So with language, coming to the UK where you need to study, you have to know the language. And I remember, and I think you were doing the same. We would have our pathology lectures, and I don't care what language you spoke. She spoke a different language.
Sure. That is 100% correct.
I remember sitting there, and I had my phone out beside me with the dictionary, and it was sometimes it felt like it's every other word I had to define and write it next to it. And my English certainly improved after that course. But it's also not just English; it's also learning a medical language.
Yeah.
So you're not. So yeah. So I mean, I had to learn a new language, and you had to. So I suppose in that regard, it was just maybe. I suppose maybe a few things that my vocabulary naturally would be slightly wider, so I'll be able to maybe pick things up a little bit quicker. But it's not like it's not like at all that you did any worse than I did. In fact, you probably did top 10% or something, didn't you, at college? So and that's English, not your first language. So I think that's a testament to how that's not really a big issue.
For sure. Like, yeah, I don't think for the course it's a big problem. It's very easy, and when you study, you have so much time as well. You can look up every other word if you need to.
Yeah, that's true.
But when you start seeing patients, then it's a bit more challenging, I guess. That then is like cultural bits as well. Asking old lady to sit down in the chair before you sit down and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, true. But I suppose you would have had 4 years at least to.
Yeah, three. Yeah.
Oh, 3. Sorry, yeah, 3 to kind of get used to a few things. But yeah, again, I suppose in that situation you learn pretty quickly, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you do things and English people being very polite, they might not say anything. But there again, if they know you're Norwegian, I think often, maybe not always, but often they might excuse you.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, and it's probably more the older or older people rather than younger people. Younger people seem to care less about this kind of stuff these days. So what would you say is what would you say the biggest cultural difference is? Is there something that you would say, or is it, I don't know, a variety of things?
What's the biggest cultural difference?
Or was there any cultural challenges?
I don't know. It's hard to put into words. What's the difference? But I remember I spoke to this one guy in year 2 or 3, and he was English from Bournemouth. I asked him like, how was getting so many foreigners in? What did you learn from interacting with them every day? And he was like, oh, I learned how much the same we are. Like, yeah, there is some differences, but we're pretty much the same. And I was shocked because I was like, I thought we were just the same, and we're not.
I see. Okay.
Like the way you build up your towns is different, and the way you go to like cafe and pubs is different. The way you interact with your friends is different. The way you interact with strangers is different. The way you use so many words when you're talking.
We use more words, do we?
Oh, you use so many words.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah,
especially old people will just keep going.
I feel that English people like to decorate our sentences a lot.
Yeah,
and we find that I think that sometimes we find that a little bit hard when, like even my wife, who's from Ghana, they English is their first language, but they can speak English in a bit more of a blunt way, and so she'll say things, and I know that she doesn't mean it as she says it, but it just hits me a little bit hard because it just seems a bit blunt. Like I asked her to do something and she'll just say no. I was like, okay, fair enough, but you could have just, worked your way to that answer. And I think a lot of other countries are quite similar. They just tend to be a little more blunt, where we like to, I don't know, take the long route just to, and because we're used to that, we maybe don't take some of the more blunt things quite as easy. But it makes sense to speak a little bit more bluntly because you just get to the point quicker. So,
yeah. You do, don't you?
Yeah.
That's funny.
So what was the travel part like then? Was it? I mean, I suppose naturally being further away, you're probably not going to see your family quite as much, but you did fly back a fair amount, didn't you? Was that a big issue? Was it expensive?
Norway isn't that far away, though, is it?
No. How long does it take on the plane? Would you say?
It's scheduled for 2 hours. And then it takes a bit less.
Okay.
But then obviously you have to get to the airport, and you get both on this side and from Heathrow to Bournemouth. So it takes a few hours to get there. But it would be the same thing if I studied I don't know, in a different part of Norway. Travel could have been as far or longer for sure. And I guess it's the same for you if you studied Manchester or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Because I mean, door to door, how long would it take you? Would you say?
6, 7 hours maybe.
Right. So it's like if you lived in Newcastle or something,
Yeah.
so quite far north, it would be the same distance. So it would probably, would you say it would cost you a bit more than if you traveled in the car for 6 hours? Probably not
Yeah.
massively, right?
No, because when you're a student, you get like student tickets on the plane as
Mm,
well.
mm.
So probably cost, yeah, I don't know, 100, £150
Yeah. Okay.
if
Yeah.
I
And
should
yeah.
guess.
And that's return
No.
each way. Okay. Yeah. So it's a fair amount, um, but yeah, as you say, Norway's not that far. So, and I suppose that was a big reason for you not going to somewhere like America because you would have
Yeah,
not been able to come back as often. Yeah.
that's true. Having a girlfriend and everything, that would
Yeah. True.
be pretty bad.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Good. So, and so, are you glad you did it? Are you
But I did
glad?
it. Well,
And are you glad that you went to an English college as opposed to the Welsh, or like in hindsight, do you regret your decision, or are you very happy with it?
well, I'm very happy. I wouldn't go to Wales.
Hmm.
I don't see what I would gain from that. What I could do is go to Denmark,
Hmm.
just because like tuition fees there is, I don't think they have any,
Oh, really?
and you get like £600 from the Danish government just as a
Oh,
grant for fun um, when you study there. So like the amount of debt you had to go into to get education would be less.
hmm. An incentive.
Yeah, so that's a reason to go to Denmark. So I would definitely go to Denmark
Hmm.
or Bournemouth
So why didn't you go to Denmark?
because of the adjustment.
Oh,
And
right. Okay.
they study with the medical doctors for the first 3 years.
Hmm. Interesting.
So they get really smart and like they know their um, yeah, terminology and anatomy and physiology, pharmacology really well,
Hmm.
but then they don't practice day-to-day job that much.
It's so interesting. So
At
even
least that's
sorry, go on.
at least that's what I heard. I don't.
Yeah. So even though there's a big incentive of you wouldn't come out with as much debt, or if any, you still wanted to come to the one in the UK mainly because of the education you get, in particular in regards to the adjustment and the technique side of things.
So,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and that's if that was the only reason, that's a big price to pay, but it is also a very important aspect of what we do. So how you come out, and it influences. College doesn't just teach you, does it? It also influences you in what you believe and the type of practitioner you're going to be when you come out. So yeah.
for sure. No,
Okay.
yeah, I would definitely recommend if you're gonna study chiropractic.
Mm.
I wouldn't be afraid to recommend Bournemouth.
Mm. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. Good. Any last remarks?
I think that's good, Steven.
I think so. Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Well, that concludes podcast for today. Thank you for watching.